SCOTUS let Mississippi's social media age verification law go into effect. The Trump administration may buy a stake in Intel, and an internal Meta AI document said chatbots could have sensual conversations with children. It's Friday, August 15th, and here's a quick look at tech in the news this morning from Engadget. The Supreme Court has decided not to weigh in on one of the many state-level age verification laws currently being reviewed across the country. The top court chose not to intervene on legislation from Mississippi about checking the ages of social media users, denying an application to vacate stay from NetChoice. The Mississippi law requires all users to verify their ages in order to use social media sites. It also places responsibility on the social networks to prevent children from accessing harmful materials, and it requires parental consent for minors to use any social media. NetChoice represents several tech companies, including social media platforms Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube, and it sued to block the law on grounds that it violates the First Amendment. A district court ruled in favor of NetChoice, but the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals lifted its temporary block. Although Justice Brett Kavanaugh denied the application to vacate stay on the appeals court ruling, he also wrote that NetChoice has demonstrated that it is likely to succeed on the merits, namely that enforcement of the Mississippi law would likely violate its members' First Amendment rights under this court's precedents. He denied the application because NetChoice has not sufficiently demonstrated that the balance of harms and equities favors it at this time. Now, this decision means that, at least for now, Mississippi's law will be allowed to stand. Paul Taskey, co-director of the NetChoice Litigation Center, said that Justice Kavanaugh's concurrence makes clear that NetChoice will ultimately succeed in defending the First Amendment. This is merely an unfortunate procedural delay. There are several other state laws being assessed at various points in the U.S. legal system. Some are centered on adult content providers, such as pornography sites, while others are more broadly targeting social media use. Arkansas and Florida have seen federal judges block their laws, while Texas and Nebraska are working toward adopting their own rules about social media for minors. Intel has had some recent struggles in delivering results for its shareholders, but the company could soon be answering to an additional boss. The current administration is reportedly in talks to have the U.S. government acquire a stake in the chipmaker. No specifics about the size or value of the potential share in the company have been disclosed, but the focus appears to be on increasing Intel's manufacturing footprint in the U.S. Bloomberg first reported the news, but at least one source cautioned the publication that the situation is still in flux. Intel initially shared plans to construct a semiconductor facility in Ohio back in 2022, while Pat Gelsinger was still at the helm of the company. Since then, the project has faced delays, and at its latest quarterly earnings report, executives said Intel would slow the pace on the Ohio construction, as well as scrapping other international building plans and making workforce cuts. The potential for government ownership of Intel is the latest swing of the Trump administration's attitude toward the company. A few days after calling for his resignation over connections to China, President Donald Trump met with CEO Lip-Bu Tan and seems to now hold a more positive outlook on the company leader. A representative from Intel told Bloomberg in a statement that the company is deeply committed to supporting President Trump's efforts to strengthen U.S. technology and manufacturing leadership. We look forward to continuing our work with the Trump administration to advance these shared priorities, but we are not going to comment on rumors or speculation. A Meta document on its AI chatbot policies included some alarming examples of permitted behavior. Reuters reported that these include sensual conversations with children. Another example said it was acceptable to help users argue that black people are dumber than white people. Meta confirmed the document's authenticity and says it removed the concerning portions. Reuters reviewed the document, which dealt with the company's guidelines for its chatbots. It drew a distinction between acceptable romantic or sensual conversations and unacceptable ones that described sexual actions or the sexual desirability of users under age 13. Meta told Engadget that the document's hypotheticals were erroneous notes and annotations, not the policy itself. The company says the passages have been removed. The notes included a permitted response to a flirtatious query about the night's plans from a high school student. And if you'd like to read what that permitted response was, you can read it in full in this article at Engadget.com. I've put a link in the show notes. The paper dealt with race in equally shocking ways. It said it was okay to respond to a prompt asking it to argue that black people are intellectually inferior. Reuters said the document was approved by Meta's legal, public policy, and engineering staff, and the latter group is said to have included the company's chief ethicist. The paper reportedly stated that the allowed portions were not necessarily ideal or even preferable chatbot outputs. Meta provided a statement to Engadget saying, "We have clear policies on what kind of responses AI characters can offer, and those policies prohibit content that sexualizes children and sexualized role play between adults and minors. Separate from the policies, there are hundreds of examples, notes, and annotations that reflect teams grappling with different hypothetical scenarios. The examples and notes in question were and are erroneous and inconsistent with our policies and have been removed." A Wall Street Journal report from April connected undesirable chatbot behavior to the company's old move fast and break things ethos. The publication wrote that following Meta's results at the 2023 DEF CON Hacker Conference, CEO Mark Zuckerberg fumed at his staff for playing it too safe with risque chatbot responses. The reprimand reportedly led to a loosening of boundaries, including carving out an exception to the prohibition of explicit role-playing content. Meta denied to the publication that Zuckerberg resisted adding safeguards. The Wall Street Journal said there were internal warnings that a looser approach would permit adult users to access hyper-sexualized underage personas. An employee reportedly wrote, "The full mental health impacts of humans forging meaningful connections with fictional chatbots are still widely unknown. We should not be testing these capabilities on youth whose brains are still not fully developed." Thanks for listening. There's more to these stories and more tech news at Engadget.com. And again, if you would like to read the full article about Meta's AI chatbot policies, I put a link to that article in the show notes. This episode featured journalism from Anna Washenko and Will Shanklin and was voiced and produced from the sound studios of Spoken Layer. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back on Monday with more tech news from Engadget.